السلام عليكم لكلها بكاهليدة إلى أمتنا العربية المباركة والحبيبة في جميع أنحاء العالم. السلام عليكم وعلى بيت الأخ داود وهارون مالك العرش والسلطة حكت المقدي. السلام عليكم يا أهل البيت أسب القوة والسلطة وأيد كل أنبياء هذا البيت وأشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الله سبحانه وتعالى. And so we find it written in the hadith that the Prophet said, يوشك أن يأتي على الناس زمان لا يبقى من الإسلام إلا اسمه. The time would come when nothing would be left of Islam but its name. And that time has come upon us, as we see that Islam has been corrupted from the inside. And this took place in the time of the Prophet, and it continued after his death, even up until this very present day. The Muslims have rebelled against the commands of the Prophet. And indeed, today, we are in full rebellion as believers. The Prophet was not just sent to those who identify with being Muslim, but he was sent to the Christians as well as to the Jews. He was sent to the seed of Ibrahim and to the entire world. One of the greatest problems our learned men, our teachers, our muftis, our religious leaders and scholars, we see that the masjids have been built up today and they are beautiful. But just like the Prophet said, وَهِيَ خَارِبٌ مِنَ الْهُدَى عُلَمَاؤُهُمْ شَارُ مَنْ تَخْتِ آدَمِ السَّمَّاءِ مِنْ عِنْدِهِمْ تَخْرُجُ الْفِتْنَةُ وَفِيهِمْ تَعُودُ. So even though the mosques are in fine condition, they are devoid of guidance. And our learned men today are the worst people under heaven. And surely corruption has come forth from them. And it has also begun to return. And the Prophet gave us fair warning of these events that would befall us at the end of time. He said, فَإِذَا دُيَأَتِ الْأَمَّنَاتُ فَأَنْتَازِرِ السَّاءَ. When honesty is lost, wait for the hour. And then the Bedouin said, كَيْفَ إِذَا آتُهَا. And the Prophet answered, إِذَا وُسَّدَ الْأَمْرُ إِلَى غَيْرِ الْأَخْلِهِ فَأَنْتَازِرِ السَّاءَ. When the power or authority comes into the hands of other than his family, then wait for the hour. And Islam has been overran by infidels and traitors and sedition workers and those who are not from amongst us, as they have taken up arms to kill, and they have plundered the Muslims. And Abu Musa narrated from the Prophet, "Man hammala alayna al-silaha falaysa mina." The Prophet said, whoever takes up arms against us is not from us. And so we find it narrated by Hudayfa bin Yaman, "La taqumu as-sa'atu hatta taqulu imamukum wa tashtalidu bi asayfikum waritu dunyakum shirarukum." And the hour will not begin until you kill your imam and fight one another with swords, and your world is inherited by the worst of you. And this took place at the time of the Prophet and afterwards, when he gave the authority and the guardianship of this ummah to Ali, And those from within the Ummah rebelled against that word, and the Muslims pledged bay'ah to the sedition. And Islam has been off balance and devastated ever since then. And our Prophet Isa, alayhi salam, foretold that a man's enemies would be the members of his own household. And we find this a truth even in the story and history of Islam. At the time of the Prophet's death, there were 3 tribes that were disliked by him: Banu Thaqif, Banu Hanifa, and Banu Umayyah, all family members of the Prophet. And the Prophet said, "The children of Umayyah shall ascend to my pulpit. I have seen them in my dreams, jumping on my pulpits like monkeys." And the Prophet said that the following verse was revealed about Umayyah. "And we made that dream which we have shown you only as a test to the people and the cursed tree in the Quran. And we warned them, but it only increases their extreme transgression." And so we find that the Prophet said, "Qala yakunu ba'di aimatun la yahtaduna bihudai wa la yastanuna bisunnati wa sayakumu fihim rijalun qulubuhum qulubu ash-shayatina fi juthmani insin." There will be leaders after me who will not be led by my guidance and who will not adopt my ways. There will be among them men who have the hearts of devils in the bodies of human beings. And this is the case in Islam today. And so we see clearly today that the policy in Islam is to deny Ahl al-Bayt, to deny the Mahdi, to deny the Quran and the Hadith and the words and commandment of Muhammad, to deny the words of Moses and Isa, and disobey the prophethood, all of whom are from Ahl al-Bayt. Listen to what Ali said of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. "From the very beginning of my life, he loved me and I loved him. He took me in his lap when I was a baby, and hence I was always with him. He often kept me embraced to his heart. When I was a baby, he fed me with his hand, often chewing hard bits for me. I followed the Prophet step by step as a baby camel follows its mother. Every year he used to stay in Hira Mountains for some time, and nobody used to be with him but I. None could then see or hear him or be near him but I. During those days, Islam was the religion of only the Prophet and his wife Khadijah. I was the third of the trio. Nobody else in this world had accepted Islam. But yet the rights of Ahl al-Bayt were denied and the commandment of the Prophet was disobeyed when Ali was not given guardianship and was not recognized by the seditious people at the time. That sedition continues on to this day, as Ahl al-Bayt has been denied their rights, and this community has fallen into the hands of foreigners and those who hate Islam. It was also narrated by Ali on the day of Gadarikum. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يوم غدركم كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه قال فزاد الناس بعد والي من واله وعادي من عاده. If I am a man's mawla, then Ali is also his mawla. And the people added after that, so take as friends those who take him as friend, and take as enemies those who take him as an enemy. And so this defines what the Ummah of Islam and those who succeeded Prophet Muhammad had become through their disobedience, enemies of the faith and enemies of Allah, and without a doubt avowed enemies to Ahl al-Bayt, as it still is to this very day. And we also find it written, نشد علي الناس في رغبة من سمي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يأكل يوم قدركمني لقام قال فقام من كبال سعيد ستة ومن كبال زيدين ستة فالشاهد أنهم سميوا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يأكل لعليا رضي الله عنه يوم قدركمن أليس له أولى بالمؤمنين قالوا بلى قال اللهم من كنت ماله فعلي ماله اللهم والي من واله وعادي من عاده. Ali adjured the people at Araba, saying, whoever heard the messenger of Allah speak on the day of Qadr, let him stand up. And of the people around Sa'id, 6 men stood up, and of the people around Zaid, 6 men stood up, and they testified that they heard the messenger of Allah say to Ali on the day of Qadr, isn't it Allah who is closer to the believers? They said, yes. He said, oh Allah, if I am a person's Mawla, friend or supporter, then Ali is also his Mawla. Oh Allah, take as friends those who take him as friends, and take as enemies those that take him as enemy. And so when the Shura questions Uthman and Ali, they said, if you become Caliph, will you be guided by the Quran, the Sunnah, and precedent set by Abu Bakr and Umar? Uthman said, yes, my role is to follow what has already been laid down. I do not intend to be an innovator. Ali said, no, I shall act according to the Quran and the Sunnah. As for following the precedents of Abu Bakr and Umar, I have a conscience of my own, and I will consult it. And so it has been recorded about the death of the Prophet and the incidents after his demise. Ibn Babawayh has narrated through authentic chains of narrators that Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam said that the first calamity and first trial that befell me after the messenger of Allah was that of all Muslims. I did not have a sincere friend on whom I could have relied and from whom I could have expected help. And the Ummah today is no different towards Ahl al-Bayt and even towards the believers. Kulaini and Sheikh Tusi have narrated through authentic chains of narrators that the messenger of Allah was shrouded in 3 garments. One was a red sheet and 2 pieces of Yemenite cloth. Moreover, it was narrated from Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam that Abbas came to Amir al-Mu'minin and said, people have decided that the Prophet should be buried in Baqi, and Abu Bakr will lead the funeral prayers. And notice this is after the Prophet had already given instructions to Ali, his successor. And he had already done the rites of succession by taking care of the Prophet's body. When Imam Ali alayhi salam came to know that the hypocrites were ready to create mischief, he came out and said, "O people, indeed the messenger of Allah, after his life and death, was our Imam and leader. And he himself has told us that he should be buried at the place where he passes away." Since they were more interested in usurping the caliphate, they did not argue and said, "Do as you like." Thus he stood in the front and recited the funeral prayer.
Open your eyes so you can see, keeping the signs, watching the times, pushing the line, never recline. Enemies plotting the dark like all of the time. Follow the Torah divine, that's how I'm doing my time. Taking what's mine, niggas be talking but ain't got no spine. Stay on the grind, seeking to find scripts for the mind, peace in the signs. Maybe next year in Jerusalem, all that I got on my mind.